Hi, Pema. Yes, I
Hi.
hope I pronounced it right.
Yeah, it's fine.
As I know, you're a mentor and a guide, and you facilitate groups for quite some years already. And I'm very happy to talk to you today about more your really own way of guiding yourself through life or be guided through life. And I would be very interested how come you decided that's an interesting way for you. I mean, now you're teaching and guiding, but I mean, was there a certain moment you realized, okay, this is really something I'm interested in? Or how come you're going this path?
Yeah. Let's say life didn't start out with me thinking, this is what I want to do. It's really been more than anything, I think it's been a travel in love and love of humanity and in love of all beings, basically. I have, let's say from the beginning, it simply started out with that choice of love for myself, really. And I didn't choose this from a point of a mental decision in any way. More than anything, I walked with love, and I did it with a very conscious choice over and over and over and over again of choosing love over fear in every moment. And it's led me on a a quite radical journey of truth, actually, which has uncovered a lot of keys, I would say, but very like fundamental, very profound keys of our existence, basically, like really coming into unity with source through all of the ways in which I've uncovered inside my being. And in uncovering things, then that love of humanity has in very many ways, it's been like an automatic, like, oh, like this fell in place. Oh, if people only knew that, that kind of. So it's really come from a sincerity, basically, towards humanity. And I've never really chosen to be a teacher, but it's kind of just, that's kind of like the form that it seems that I fit in somehow. But actually, what I'm doing is actually I'm just sharing my life experience and sharing these keys of consciousness that I have developed inside of my own being.
Mm-hmm.
And through that journey of that sharing, I've, for one, I keep on evolving myself, and has gone through very many chapters of that unfolding, both in terms of the purification of my heart and in the emptying and silencing of my mind in very many ways. Not silencing as a shh, but more like a emptying and a coming into that silence of pure being through my head. And also in the belly, of embracing this the traumatic human experience in a way, like all of the ways in which we need that healing and that care and that compassion, and really embracing my own ground in a way that's also uncovered a vast alley of compassion and of being able to be with the basic human grief and the basic human disconnection in many ways, and in ways that actually reconnects everything. And in sitting with that, of course, then it's like, I mean, what do we need today, right? we really need that possibility to return home in so many ways, and that's really what has led my way in many ways. Yeah.
If you say, what is love for you? Because I mean, I know, of course, a lot of people say, yeah, I choose love over fear, but like, what is love for you?
Mm.
When you talk about your, like in a situation, okay, I have fear, I actually notice fear, and then I choose love.
Mm.
What does it mean?
I think it's something with what do I walk with, You know, there's a love which is all inclusive. And if I choose fear, then I basically choose the opposite of that embrace, which includes you and me, and the basic nakedness and the basic honesty. And it's just like a foundation of uncovering true being somehow. And of course, to start with, choosing love was something else, and it very much became a choice of, I could almost say, I mean, you could call it God. Back then, that was what was in my eye, but it's actually, it can be translated to many things, like source or essence, or the truth about you and the truth about me, and that foundation of creation and love of what's behind all of this, in so many ways. Yeah.
So would you actually say it's also a different word for to trust the connection, or to let's say maybe not trust, but like get to know the connection, and always trying to be open again and again to, okay, what's the connection here? Like, because learning through fear or learning through connection in a way, okay, something happens which makes me eager or like unsure, and what is there to learn, or what is there to, why is it coming to me? Like,
You use the word connection, but maybe I would rather point it towards trusting in the deeper intelligence.
mhm.
You know, deeper intelligence. Connection can be so many things. I mean, love, again, has been uncovered. What is love over so many layers and levels of like unraveling myself to the reality of love itself, right? It's such a used word in every kind of
Yeah.
context. Yeah, but so is connection also, in a way, you
Mhm.
know. But actually, the breakdown of intelligence that comes to emptying out from everything about someone in me who thinks that it knows something, and getting in touch with that deeper pulse of life, you know, that intelligence
Mhm.
and the trust in that intelligence. I think it's a very probably the mention of the best kind of leading thread. And it's also how my life is organized. It's something like really letting all of that collapse inside of me, which can have some idea that it knows better than life itself, you know? And it really, more than anything, maybe it's an arrival into like a journey of humility, you know, back to real life, back to that life which is so original and so like the original magic of everything, you know?
Mhm.
And really coming into the unity with that. And it's just, it's always there, and yet somehow we kind of get up and into these boxes of our identities and our beliefs and all of this, and then we can operate from there. But we can also do what I've done, which is to break all of that down and actually uncover what is the deeper reality beneath all of these convictions and all of these beliefs and all of these patterns and all of these fixed things in life. You know, what is life when all of that is broken down to such a that fundamental pulse of intelligence, which when I really lean into it and when I really move close to that inner door where it's right behind there, I can, it's like I cannot tell the difference between that I can almost call it like that heartbeat of the power of creation itself, and then my own heartbeat, you know, they so become one and the same rhythm somehow. And then to keep myself as close as possible to that, and that includes all of my mind silence and all of my heart's deep love of reality and of existence, you know, as well as that deep rest in the belly where I'm really just scraped down to such a simplicity of being, where I've just seen over the years how that the complexity of being human has been reduced to such a simplicity, you know, even like emotional simplicity, where it's really down to a gratitude and a deep inspiration in life, and then just a love of creation, a love of beauty. And then to see that dance, and that's how my life is moving now. It's literally these three things. It's gratitude, it's inspiration, and it's just beauty and love of beauty and of creation itself.
You're actually seeing more the magic all the time, which I experience in a way that if you're in that state, you can see all the time where the beauty or the magic in whatever emotion also. Like it's more joyful to live the life.
Exactly.
How is it for you? I mean, now you say you're actually traveling like that. How is it for you when do you notice when you actually fall out? Because for me, life is always also a movement within this flow, and then sometimes just noticing, oops, like I'm a bit off, and like I notice in a certain way, and then I'm like, just, I can be still for a moment, and now I'm coming back again. So how is it for you, like finding your path within this?
I would say that my path moves very much as a pulse of nature as it is now. Those basic inner settlings in compassion and in love, they don't really move out anymore. And it's come through, I mean, we're talking about quite a radical journey. I mean, it's like 22 years or something now, where I've really gone all the way into unity with cosmic consciousness. Then I've gone all the way into unity with like the primordial silence. I was sitting for 2.5 years, in a really just sitting and letting everything dissolve. So I've really kind of radically gone into the unity with these fundamental aspects of source, and the last one that I'm in workings with is basically the power of creation and seeing that land into my body. So I don't so much have this finding myself moving out of that center. Somehow I'm very very trained in that center of staying there, but inside of that I really I've been receiving these power teachings, and it's literally like power landing into my body, and that has its own set of challenges. That's
Mhm.
challenges of that are really about having, well, I would say I wouldn't be here now. It's been 5.5 years or something like this now, where I've been really trained for this and had to basically create or learn on a consciousness basis the creation of that whole inner cauldron that's needed for the transmutation of that energy, But inside of that, also then really working out all of these aspects of what's appearing inside of woman in her relaxation into her essence. So that's like the purification of sexual energy, the purification of the relationship with power, the deep inner workings with continuously being able to translate whatever life comes up with in connection with people, in relating with people, being able to really translate, the like hatred of existence, anger, like all of the aspects that comes up from everywhere inside the human being, simply for us coming down and coming into our being. Then learning, continuously getting stronger in how to respond in that compassion, and yet in integrity and in sovereignty and all of those human qualities that comes with getting straight and becoming a true human. So if I'm just talking about me, I would say my fluctuation is between that power coming in, seeing it, letting it translate, and landing that deeper and deeper into that deep intelligence that's one with nature in ways that are, wow, it's even it's something to bring up here. It's like really so one with nature that a continuous reflection from weather into my being, into the weather. There's just really such a union with nature that that I cannot tell anything apart from anything there anymore. Yeah. And in that, there's a lot of work of breaking down this idea of separation that we are running around with. The moment we get into the ground, we get this idea of being a separate individual. But in breaking that down inside and really returning into that, being in the cycle of nature all the time, including integrating winter, fall, summer, spring, the whole into my being, basically. Yeah. It's like a whole chapter in itself.
Yeah. Like you said, you're actually staying there for quite some time now, no? And just, well, it sounds like not training, but like actually doing it, and experiencing it, how it feels really physical.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Yeah.
like you said, the work you do, or how you experience it also with yourself, it is, as I see it, it's a lot about sensing and feeling and being like awareness, and to make it really physical and to really become this, like that it can really unite, which gives it, for me, that's really like the whole spectrum of being, whatever spirituality means, but this kind of really meeting, it's a whole cosmos. And when that meets, it's really, and
Yeah.
it, like you said about teaching, or like it's something actually sharing your experience, and everyone needs to go, their own path and way, but it's already like sharing however you, how you moved around and all this.
Mhm. I would say when I work with people, it's I see I swallow up inside of my being. I swallow up everything that they are.
Mhm.
And I've gone through very many years of human evolution, consciousness evolution, evolution of the mind, and on heart basis and belly and all of this. So wherever people are, I see where they are, and then they are swallowed up, and then I see the distance from what and where they are and to where they are going. Because basically we're all going in the same direction. It's evolution. So it has its way, and it doesn't affect decisions of, do I do this or do I do that, because I'm not at all interested in, like, affecting people's decisions in that way. But in terms of what they need in the moment, that's all about seeing which doors are they ready to open, and then basically handing out this, like a janitor, like handing out this bundle of keys, and then letting them take the ones that they need and put them into the right hole so that their life gets to move. And then also assisting in holding of, like, oh, when they need to meet these deeper places in themselves. Yeah. There
I
are many
love it. I
aspects.
really like this picture of the keys, like
Mm.
actually taking a key, or I want that one and that one. Or let's see which one fits, is also sometimes people like need to,
Very much.
and also, I mean, I
What is the soul ready for? What is the mind ready for? What is the human? How much of a consequence are we ready to take for our lives in terms of self-responsibility and so on and so forth? Yeah, it's got many angles. Yeah, definitely.
So for
Mm.
you, is it like where did you sit for 2.5 years? Was it 2.5 or 3.5? Like,
Well, I was together, I was kind of through that drill of like embracing the heart and the purification of the heart and the unity with cosmic consciousness. So I was living like as cosmic consciousness basically for 6.5 years or something like this.
hmm,
And as a part of that, in that time, I got together and I had like a consort who was basically non-existent. He had, since he was 6 years old, he had been exploded out of existence. And when we got together, it was very puzzling. He was nothing and I was everything. And we were standing in front of each other. And it was kind of like, if I'm everything, then what is he? You know, like, so we got together in this curiosity, and through being with him, I started to see everything as the other side of that coin of nothing. And when life did like this with us, you know, where there was no like splitting off or no love lost or anything, like, it was simply life did like this, which then I happened to end up in a house in Denmark, and he was on the other side of the planet simply. And in that house, it was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna build this house apparently. And it was a restoration of a house, you know, a renovation.
Mm-hmm.
And as a part of that happening, I kind of just dropped more and more into the silence that he was all along. Kind of like the inspiration from his being somehow had helped open the doors in me also, you know. And I just, it ended up just with that complete return into just like all life energy just returned into like the center of my head, in, out, through, and back, and just an explosion of the whole egoic structure, you know, like the whole me basically.
Mm-hmm.
I was left with I am because I was love, but then to extract the whole I am into just bloody nothing, you know, just vastness of empty space, pre-existential, I mean, primordial silence. So yeah, I was sitting like for 2.5 years in a house here in Denmark, actually, in Kalundborg. And yeah.
And renovating the house and being most of the time silent and being with yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I
Being.
was moving. There was some waves of body getting up, and just before it just became just really, really, really silent.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually just being in a almost empty house, and somehow that emptiness just spoke to me, and it was just, when it just all inverted, it just became like a celebration of nothing, you know, instead of that baseline we have of like something, anything is better than nothing, you know, that kind of complete reversal of that into really the celebration of nothing, a real love of nothing. And just the deep resonance of that within myself. Yeah. So it was some waves of that renovation in the beginning, and it became some more waves of that in the end. In the end, the house was basically finished, but I mean, yeah. Yeah, a lot of time, but it was completely out of context, you know. It was not, before that I was traveling a lot, and all of a sudden it was just like the relationship dissolved and the traveling stopped for a while, and then there was just that 2.5 year gap of just like no context, no in something, in anything, completely out. Yeah. And it was so interesting because after that 2.5 years, life just started by itself again. You know, within 1 week, I had 8 invitations to travel,
Mm-hmm.
like 8 different countries that all of a sudden wrote me again after 2.5 years. And this is the part of what I mean of this, like, life is basically showing the way. You know, I don't have to invent anything. I don't have to make it up or make it happen or all of this. That there's like a basic trust that I can just lean into that's going to show me exactly the way that life wants me to move. But my responsibility then is to not withdraw from anything also, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And when I say that, because when people talk about retreat and that entering into silence, some people see that as like, oh, that's a retraction from something, but it's actually not. It's even freaking more intense than anything to go into such a silence. You know, it's really the workings. It's not just sitting around waiting for something. It is not just hanging out or anything. It's really a confrontation with that center source silence and all of the intensity that you know, the whole gathering of all of life energy coming back to its, yeah, I mean, to its source, you know. Yeah, it's
And
definitely
actually
not
become aware of it, no, to start to feel it.
absolutely.
It's
And really let it take, you know, that's what I've been doing. It's not been a point of view. It's not been just someone touching silence. I've really let myself not touch silence, but get fully engulfed by silence. So no trying to stay apart from silence or just experiencing it, because experience in itself can be still a point of view of someone experiencing it. But to let that someone really dissolve into that space, that's something quite different.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, nice, beautiful.
In the return, the life to start happening in a different way, because it's actually there's something fundamentally learned in that silence, and that is that there is no background on existence. It's not like there's life and there's me. There's actually nothing behind the me, fully nothing behind the me. And it means that anything that can be projected on me is not something that an I has to deal with in any way. It literally just slides into nothing. So it removes the entire possibility of taking life too seriously. But it also has to balance with taking life seriously enough for joy, for love, for laughter, for all of those things that come with entering into true feeling as well. Because as you said, really, now it's really about one thing was the seeing and that kind of being, but to let all of that space really come in and come down here and in through arms and legs just makes an entirely new translation of the meeting between matter and silence or consciousness, and the development of that is really opening for that intelligence on an even deeper, even more ancient, original, and old level. That's really where magic comes into the picture. Yeah. And it's really through feeling. That's only through feeling that that's possible. But also through the whole breakdown of that whole emotional piano that we have as the complex human beings, actually. But we can't break it down without fully embracing it, fully feeling every single note on that piano and really embracing that feeling and getting it all the way to the depth and the bottom of our being, so we can really contain every feeling without the temptation to run away as consciousness, to not be present with. Yeah.
Just the way when you say it, it feels so earthy, and and not to judge feelings, as I notice with a lot of guiding people, like we judge a lot and where we come from and whatever, and to let it be movement. And that is such a present actually to experience it layer by layer, and to really have it like in right everywhere inside of the
Yeah.
like the body. And you talk about the belly, like the sort of, for me, the core or the hara or whatever you call it, but like really go deep down. And to I think it's also the to actually feel the magic, which is huge. It's not us, it's like the whole connection, and to feel this really ancient wisdom, cosmic, whatever, earth, stars, I don't know what it all is, but it's like this. It's sometimes it just, I mean, as I feel you, it's a very, how do you say in English, like it's very normal. Not normal, but it's just like how it is, and it feels really home. And to realize that that is actually home, it's also way sometimes quite far away from where people are. And to let, and when we get the taste of it, that it's actually a door, a pathway to really come home and be this huge, this part of this huge cosmos of the, it's not the cosmos or whatever, it's like the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, there's a real beauty in what you're saying there. And it's something like, I mean, maybe previously in spirituality, it's been very much focused on light and love. And that's all like on a heart basis. But if we truly embrace reality, and not just through the head of silence, not just through the heart, but really without being afraid of that depth that comes with that ground. You know, it's a little bit like there's like a dragon living in a cellar. And we are so afraid of that dragon, but instead of shying away from it, there's a waiting for us to truly come in and befriend it, and somehow see that original wisdom be born into something else. Because the dragon isn't just a dragon, there's a very powerful being at that center of us, and that leads straight back to the totality of the power of creation. And that's the one we need to befriend. This is where we have really failed as human beings. You know, the moment we touch power, it's either used or abused, or shunned, as in like rejected and pushed down and pushed away. And it's simply because our whole relationship with power is so based on what we have seen ourselves do with it in the past. What we fail to realize is that the core of all of that is the divine feminine. We've been so onto the divine masculine, but we have completely shut down our own feminine, which comes with feeling. And the whole development of all of that intelligence and ability to live the breath of all inclusion. So we keep on changing the world and changing the world, and more control and more rules and more stress and more pressure and all of this. And it's one huge like annihilation of nature in our own selves, even if we are nature, you know? So to really break that down and start embracing that ground, it can seem like a dangerous thing to start with. But the thing is that the more that we basically turn that masculine and love in us, not to be about itself, but to be in deep humility and bowing to that feminine, so that our inner marriage can happen as a unity between our masculine and feminine. Something, I'm telling you, the gates that are opening there for a fulfillment of life, that gets where we as humans really get to experience a completely different reality of really resting in the ground. And as you say, returning to that sense of home, you know, not just on a consciousness level or on an outward level of home as a place, but really as a deep connection with nature inside of ourselves, that connects us with all the rest, including that the fact that that connection isn't just about connection. Connection is actually the prerequisite for us to re-establish our tentacles into the totality of that intelligence I was talking about. And it's literally the network of care. It's a network of holism. It's a network of everything being connected to everything. And we've so lost that into that idea of that separation and separate individuals, you know? While our true individuation, our true nature as individuals is such a beautiful color in the totality of that also allows us to be connected, you know, with each other, with life itself, with nature, with our source, with our bodies in such a fundamental way. Yeah.
Yeah, you talk about the sort of the reunification, which is really something that in every person, that to realize that it goes together, and it actually is nurturing if it goes together. And again, this idea of also in a special group of being enlightened or whatever, that all this kind of ideas which are out there, which actually really keep people up and not grounded, and to really go down in the mud, and where the soil is, where it's really yummy, you know, soil, and to go down and deep and to connect this. So the energy is down there, and it needs to be also down there. So it's otherwise you can't plant anything. It's dead, no? And to really, it's the nature is teaching us all the time. and yeah, to remember, like you said, being there, just planting and seeing how everything grows, and it's teaching us all the time.
I would actually say that it's not one or the other. For me, it's always been like, well, every reflection of that connection with truth must necessarily be a part of the totality of the picture.
Mhm.
So for me, yes, I've gone through these higher esoteric teachings and all of this, they are in my being. I've swallowed masters of like of the ages, you know, so that it's all a part of me, but it's a little bit like a tree, you know. A tree needs to grow its roots, but it needs to have as deep roots as the ground goes up. So it doesn't become just the wiggling up, and it also, it doesn't just disappear in the darkness. You know, there's a feeding between that touch upon both light and darkness that gives birth to something. Really, if you want to talk about that being in touch with the cosmic everything, it's really about simply recognizing ourselves on every layer and every level of our existence, you know, to really let ourselves be fulfilled as humans so much that we get so much in touch with that which actually is divine. So where does the divine begin and end? Where, you know, but that we are everything. We are human, we are divine, we are empty, and we are full. We are, you know, we are all of the paradoxes just in one being. But of course, we can't take that up here unless we really just let go into the totality, as well as embrace all of this, you know. And to take care of our nails and our, you know, our toes, and like, you know, just the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and enjoy it also, you know, like
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. I
Thank you
could
so
go on.
much.
Yes, exactly. I could go on into that talk about enjoyment.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mm,
nice to talk to you
very nice
and
to meet
sharing.
you. Yeah.